Welcome back. This is another exciting episode of Mr. Takeda Teaches Algebra. I'm your host, once again, Mr. Takeda, and I'm going to teach you some algebra right now. This is lesson 2.3, in which we ask the essential question, how can you use division to solve an inequality? It also applies to multiplication, by the way. Um, well, we do know that equations and inequalities are closely related, and so far we've seen that we're going to solve inequalities the same way that we've solved equations. Here's our first concept here, and this is where equations and inequalities kind of diverge. There's one big difference in solving them, and it's kind of split into two things here. Okay, and this is it. Multiplying or dividing each side of an inequality by the same positive number produces an inequality. Okay, so for instance, negative 6 is less than 8. If I multiply both those by a positive 2, negative 12 is less than 16. I have a true inequality. It works for the other direction too. 6 is greater than negative 8. Dividing both of those by a positive 2, positive 2, 3 is greater than negative 4. True. Okay, so we have to multiply or divide both sides by a positive number if we want it to be true. And of course, it also applies for the equal parts. Less than or equal to is greater than or equal to. Okay, so let's try that on a couple simple examples here. X over 8 is greater than negative 5, or I should say x divided by 8 is greater than negative 5. So to solve this, I want to multiply both sides by positive 8. I'm multiplying both sides by a positive 8. So x is greater than negative 40. Go this way. 0, negative 10, negative 20, negative 30, negative 40. Open circle at negative 40, and I want numbers greater than negative 40, so I'm going to the right. Second example, B, negative 24 is greater than or equal to 3x. To solve this one, I have to divide both sides by the same number. In this case, that positive 3 here. 3 divided by 3 leaves me x. Negative 24 divided by 8, divided by 3, I'm sorry, is negative 8. Negative 24 divided by positive 3, negative 8. So this will be x is less than or equal to negative 8. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, negative 8. And I'm going to use a closed dot here. And I want the numbers that are less than negative 8, so I'm going to the left. So there's my graph for problem B. So when we're dealing with now, I want to emphasize I'm dividing by a positive number. I'm multiplying by a positive number. I'm multiplying a negative number here, but I'm multiplying it by a positive number. Some students in the past have a hard time distinguishing what we mean by the preposition by. This is 3x divided by 3. Okay, I'm dividing by a positive number. Let's look what happens when we're dividing by a negative number. C is less than 0. So I start with a true inequality. Negative 6 is less than 8. If I multiply both sides by the same negative 2 here in this case, I've got 12 and negative 16. Now, if I kept the sign, the inequality symbol the same, it would be a false statement because 12 is not less than negative 16. If I'm multiplying by a negative number, I have to reverse the inequality symbol. I have to reverse that inequality symbol. Same thing if I'm dividing by a negative number. In this case, I'm dividing both numbers by a negative 2. I have to reverse this inequality symbol in order to maintain a true statement. Because what happens when we multiply or divide by a negative number? We get the opposite. So now we kind of like flip the number line backwards. So in order to make this a true statement, we have to flip our inequality symbol around. Okay, so when multiplying by the same negative number, the direction of the inequality symbol must be reversed. That's really the only difference between between solving equations and solving inequalities, but it's a huge difference. And students already have a hard time watching their negative signs. And this is one where you really have to watch your negative signs. So let's take a look at a couple examples here. 2 is less than y divided by -3. To solve this, I must multiply both sides by -3. I'm multiplying by a negative number. So -3 times 2 is -6. -3 divided by -3 is 1, positive 1, so this becomes positive 1y. Because remember, this was a positive number, now it's a negative on this side. This was a negative number, now it's a positive on this side. So I have to reverse my inequality symbol to make this true. And now for graphing purposes, I'm going to switch these positions. But again, if I'm pointing at the y in this statement, I have to point at the y in this statement. I'm pointing at the y with my inequality symbol. So y is less than -6. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -6. I want an open circle at my boundary of -6. Let me move that so it looks a little clearer. There we go. And I want to go to the left. I want numbers that are less than -6. For B, -7y is less than or equal to -35. In order to solve this, I have to divide both sides by -7. Okay, this was a negative number, but look what's happened now. It's become a positive y. Over here, a -35 divided by -7, it's become a positive 5. They both change signs. I need to reverse my inequality symbol to make this true. So y is greater than or equal to 5. 2, graphing, 4, 5. Okay. It's equal to 5, so I'm going to use a closed dot here at 5. And I want the numbers that are greater than 5. So I'm going to graph to the right. Okay. Very simple. This is the one big difference. So make sure you're always keeping your eyes open and thinking about these things. If you're dividing by or multiplying by a negative number, reverse your inequality symbol around. Word problem. I'll give you. Go ahead and pause the video and write this down, and then we will start writing and solving an equation for this. Okay, so you've written it down. Now let's read it together. You earn $9.50 an hour at your summer job. Write and solve an inequality that represents the number of hours you need to work to buy a digital camera that costs $247. Okay, so we'll let n be the number of hours worked. Okay, so the $9.50 per hour, this is our rate. So which means I want to multiply my rate times my number of hours. That will get me the total number of dollars. And so this represents total dollars. If the camera costs $247, do I need less than this or do I need more than this? Well, I need at least this amount, which means greater than that or equal to that amount. Okay? Because $247 will buy me the camera, so equal is good here. And let's go ahead and divide both sides by 950. So n is going to be greater than or equal to 247 divided by 9.5, 26, and these are hours. So you have to work 26 or more hours. If you work 27, 28 hours, of course, you'll have more money, and then you can buy this camera for $247. Okay, that's it for now. Again, real simple, real basic stuff, but this lesson had really the main difference between equations and inequalities in solving them. Okay, so make sure you always watching for that. I'll see you in class. Bye-bye.